Hey guys, Victor here again, coming at you with another deck profile. And today's focus is going to be on Danger Darkworld, which I firmly believe is a really good, solid tier 2 sleeper deck that not a lot of people are playing. Unfortunately, it does brick at times, and with a lot of players now including Draw and Lockbird into their main decks, this deck just completely suffers to it because if it gets drolled, it pretty much just cannot function. So, with that out of the way, let's just jump straight into the deck profile. So, kicking off the monster lineup, we're going to be starting off with 3 Genta, Gateman of Darkworld. This is one of the newest cards that was released in the Darkworld structure deck a few months back, and it's honestly just insane in what it can do because it's a searcher for the Gates of Darkworld, which is the field spell that pretty much gets this entire engine going, and it's not once per turn. So you can just continue to, discard Genta, search out your gates, and yeah, the card's just insane, and it's definitely a 3 of staple for every Darkworld deck going forward. And then in addition to that, when this card is banished, it's able to special summon itself as long as you control a face-up the gates, or just a face-up Darkworld card, which will typically be the Gates of Darkworld. So yeah, it's a free level 4 extender, searches your gates, it literally does everything for the deck, just a fantastic card all around. And then we're going to be playing 3 Snoww, Unlight of Darkworld. What this one does is when it's discarded, it searches for any Darkworld card in your deck and adds it to your hand. The second effect pretty much never comes up, but it's a reborn, but yeah, like I said, it's whatever. But when Snoww is discarded, you're searching for any Darkworld card, so you can typically, and most certainly, you usually want to search out for like Genta or something, and then you pretty much have access to your Gates of the Darkworld with free fodder in the graveyard, and yeah, but there are certain situations where you want to search out other cards. It just really depends on what you have in your hand. Then, after that, we're going to be playing 2 Sillva, Warlord of Darkworld. This card's a really, really old card, and what it does is when this card is discarded by card effect, it's able to special summon itself back, just like gold or things of that nature. But we don't play gold, we play Sillva instead because it's what allows us to hand loop our opponent. As when this card is discarded by an opponent's card effect, you're able to, you're still able to special summon it, but then they're able to stack, or they have to stack 2 cards from their hand to the bottom of their deck. And this card is just, it's really unfair when it goes off. So yeah, just insane. And then after that, we're playing only 2 Reign-beaux, Overlord of Darkworld. This card's also one of the newer additions, much like Genta, and what it does is that when this card is discarded, you search your deck for any level 5 or higher Darkworld monster, so you can search out your Sillvas if you already have all the combo pieces needed to loop your opponent's hand, or you can search out for Grapha, Dragon of Darkworld, Dragon Lord of Darkworld, sorry about that. And Grapha, it's okay in this format, but it's honestly a brick a lot of the time, so you only really need to play 1. But what it does is when this card is discarded, you're able to destroy 1 card on the field. Now, while that is good, we don't really care about that effect. What we do care about is the fact that they're able to reborn themselves. So Grapha is able to bounce back any Darkworld to special summon itself, and then Reign-beaux is able to, in addition to that, also bounce Darkworlds, and typically you want to bounce back like Grapha or something in order to special summon itself. But yeah, and just being able to, continuously bounce themselves back and gain yourself resources is just invaluable in being able to, hand loop your opponent or just build up impressive boards that they're going to have a lot of difficulty breaking. And then for the final Darkworld monster, just 1 Ceruli, Guru of Darkworld. This is literally what enables you to hand loop your opponent, because when this card is discarded, you're able to special summon it to your opponent's out of the field. And then when this card is special summoned by the effect of a Darkworld card, you force your opponent to discard. And the way that it's worded is so you're activating the effect to special summon it. However, it's considered your opponent is activating the effect to force you to discard. So you go Ceruli, you discard Sillva, and then by discarding Sillva, you're going to be able to activate both of their effects. So you get to special summon, and then your opponent loops themselves for 2. And yeah, this card is just insanely ignorant in what it can do. And once the new Darkworld spell card is released in Duelist Nexus, which is another set that we're going to be seeing right around September, so just in time for YCS Vancouver, this deck is just going to be insane. Thankfully, we have cards like Draw and Lockbird, or depending on how your opinion is, unfortunately, we have access to Draw and Lockbird to just completely shut this deck down. But yeah, it's definitely something to look out for just because of how much potential it has. And with that, that's the end of the Darkworld portion of the deck, but we still play plenty of more monsters. Now, for the second portion of the deck, we're going to be starting off with 3 Danger Nessie. This is probably the most important danger just because it's a level 8, and if this card is discarded, you're able to search for any other danger monster in your deck except for Danger Nessie. So if by chance, it's discarded, it's not the end of the world. You're going to be able to try again after it resolves. And yeah, just it being level 8, big defense, helps you turbo out rank 8s, just fantastic. Then we're also going to be playing 2 Danger Bigfoots. It's not as strong as Danger Nessie, but it still has a lot of value in it, also being a level 8 monster. And then it has 3k attack, so it's honestly really helpful on like the games that you go second, for example, because 3k is very threatening to a lot of opponents. And in addition to that, if this card is discarded, you're able to destroy 1 face-up card on the field. So this is going to be like one of your main methods on dealing with cards such as Kashtira or Rysar, just, you know, big, bad, really annoying floodgates or just boss monsters that are really difficult to deal with. But we don't play more than 3 because it is sometimes a brick, or more than 2 because it is sometimes a brick. Then we're playing 2 Danger Mothmans. Instead of Darkworld dealings, we're going to be playing Danger Mothman because it basically does the same thing. If this card is discarded, you're able to draw 1 and then discard 1, and then it also applies to your opponent. But it's probably one of the better ones just because it's also a level 4 body, so if you summon it, it helps you get into your rank 4 plays, and yeah, just a decent card. And the rest of the dangers we're only playing 1 of, so we play 1 Danger Thunderbird. It's alright, but it's honestly not that needed. And then its effect, you know, in addition to the, you know, reveal, special, draw 1, whatever, if you discard it, you're able to target 1 set card on the field and destroy it. So, you know, just solid card. And then after that, we're playing 1 Danger Jackalope because we're only allowed to play 1. And if this one's discarded, you special summon a danger from your deck in defense position. So it's really helpful you getting to your Nessies and just whatever level 8 you may need in order to go into your rank 8s. And then we're also playing the 1 Danger Tsuchinoko. This card's discarded, it special summons itself. And then the 1 Danger Chupacabra, just because it does sometimes come up where, you know, it's discarded and then you're able to special summon a danger from your graveyard except Chupacabra. And it's really helpful also, much like Jackalope, at helping you establish level 8s on the field, because level 8 is probably the most important monster level that you have access to. Then after that, we're playing 2 Radian, the multidimensional kaiju. Also really good at helping you deal with cards like Kashtira or Rysar, just because you can distribute it and then you don't have to deal with macrocosmos anymore, which is pretty much like a game ender a lot of the time. And it does help you get over like a lot of other boss monsters too. And then for the final card, we're playing 1 Blackwing Zephyros the Elite. It's just a cool little card that helps us recycle our resources, much like Grapha and Reign-beaux. You just bounce a card back to your hand and you special summon it. It gives you a level 4 for rank 4s. And all that really happens is that you lose 400 life points, which does not matter because you're pretty much winning the game if all your cards are able to resolve. But it is sometimes a brick, so just keep that in mind. And with that, that's the monster lineup, and now we can move on to the spell portion of the deck. Now for the spell cards, we're of course going to be playing 3 The Gates of Darkworld. This card's just incredibly important to the strategy because what it does is it banishes a fiend monster, then you can discard a fiend monster, and then you draw a card. So you draw a card, you typically discard like a Darkworld monster, and that Darkworld monster's effect triggers, and then when you're usually banishing off of the Gates of the Darkworld first is going to be your Genta, and then Genta's effect will also activate to summon itself, and yeah, just from there, like your plays just tend to snowball and spiral out of control. So if your opponent doesn't have like an out, yeah, it's pretty much just a wrap for them. Then we're also going to be playing 3 triple tactics talents. It's incredibly important to be playing 3 talents, and we're not playing thrust because of the fact that Droll and Lockbird is super prevalent in this format. And if you get drolled, you're not going to be able to search with thrust, and if you go first, unless you're getting hit by a bestial, you're still not searching with thrust. So instead we opted to play 3 triple tactics talent, and yeah, this card's just really solid at helping you go for the complete 5-card hand loop, or even then, if you don't want to go for the 5 cards, if your hand's like a little weak, you can just draw 2, and those 2 cards are usually enough to get you to where you need to go. And even if your opponent, for example, doesn't hand trap you at any point in the game, this card is still utterly fantastic and usable because of Ceruli, as you give the Ceruli to your opponent, and then Ceruli activates on their side of the field, will help you meet the activation requirements for triple tactics talents. So yeah, this card has so many uses, it's almost never dead, as long as you go through your combo at some point. And yeah, it's just an insane card that you should be playing at 3, I feel. And then after that, we're going to be playing 3 Allure of Darkness. Just a good consistency card, you know. It helps you draw 2, and then you banish a dark monster that you don't need. Typically, if you have like a 1-of or something, you don't want to banish your Ceruli, obviously, but you do have a couple breaks like your Zephyros or some of the dangers, or even your like multiples of like Darkworld cards. And there are even times where like if you don't have access to gates, for example, but you have like a Darkworld monster in the field, you draw into Genta with like no other darks, but you do have the Darkworld monster in the field, so you banish the Genta, then the Genta will activate the special summon itself. So there are times where like this card does help you combo off, and just drawing 2 is always a good thing. Then after that, we're only playing 1 trade-in. Now, while it does work really well with the danger monsters, trade-in does not work with your Darkworld monsters because it discards for cost, and the Darkworld monsters must be discarded for effect. So yeah, it's honestly not that strong, but it's still a decent card. Then we're going to be playing one Darkworld Archives, just another additional draw or discard one card, and then it boosts your monster's attacks. If you don't have a face-up Darkworld monster, you're not going to be able to activate Darkworld Archives, but it's fine. So yeah, card's just good, but you don't need more than one. Then we're also playing one Darkworld Accession. Card's okay. It's going to be your main way to fusion summon for the Fusion Grapha, but it is a brick at more than one also, so we don't need that. And honestly, even though this card is, good because it helps you get to your Grapha fusion, you don't really need it if I'm being honest. It's kind of more win more in a lot of situations, but yeah, it's still nice to have. Then we're also going to be playing the one Call by the Grave. With so many hand traps being, included in this format and just continuing to gain popularity like Droll and Lockbird or Dimension Shifter, having the one Call by the Grave in your hand during those key pivotal moments can sometimes just straight up win you the game. So yeah, there's no reason not to include it, but yeah, well, not much to say. It's just a really good card, and if you open it, you pretty much have security to be able to, do whatever you want for the whole game. And then for the final card, we have one card destruction. Not much to say. It's card destruction. You resolve it, you discard 4 cards typically, and you just straight up win the game. It's literally just an auto win button. And with that, that's the spell lineup. It's 40 cards like always, and now we can move on to the extra deck portion. Now, for the extra deck, we're going to be starting off with one Knightmare Phoenix. It's okay, just good generic spell and trap card removal. But remember, since this card discards for cost, if you discard a Darkworld monster, it will not activate. Then we're going to be playing one Dharc, the Dark Charmer Gloomy. We're playing a lot of Dharc, so this card's incredibly easy to summon. And while Dharc monsters have fallen out of favor somewhat in this format, it's still nice to have this as like a backup. After that, we're going to be playing one IP Masquerena. Not much to say, it's Masquerena. It's just a decent card. Then we're going to be playing one Akashic Magician. This is going to be one of the more important cards because it helps you bounce the Cerulis that you gave to your opponent, and then you can reuse the Ceruli in order to discard another Sillva and then just, loop them for 2 more cards, and yeah, just a good card. Then we're going to be playing a couple Link 4s, so we're playing the one Apollousa, Bow of the Goddess. If you're going first, you're typically going to go full combo, and Apollousa is a very key card because it pretty much provides you with anywhere between 2 to 3 or 2 to 4 negates. And sometimes those negates comboed with like the hand loop can just, just end the game right then and there. And it's really easy to do. Then we're also playing one Saryuja Skull Dread. This card's honestly insane. It just adds even more consistency because it's able to draw you 4 new cards. Sure, you have to stack 3 at the bottom of your deck, but it doesn't really matter because the 4 that you draw are typically going to be, or the one that you keep, in addition to like the 4 that you draw. It just, yeah, it's just insane. And then for our final Link monster, we're going to be playing one Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. This is going to be our main IP Masquerena target that we use to, like, get rid of key threats. And then it's also really good at helping you deal with any towers-like monsters. So if you play, like, against Ignister, for example, and they summon the Arrival, you're just able to link it off, and then you don't have to worry about trying to beat it over, because the fact of the matter is, you're not going to. So yeah, at least one Underworld Goddess, and if you don't want to play this, it's fine. You can play something like Knightmare Unicorn instead, but this is mainly just for the IP Masquerena and, those untargetable, unaffected boss monsters. And that's it for the links. Now we can go to the Xyz. So we're going to start off with one number 60, Dugaris the Timeless. This card's fantastic. It just takes 2 level 4s, and then what you typically want to do with it is you're going to draw 2 and then discard 1. You don't really care about the other effects, but sometimes the Reborn effect does come up, but you mainly just want to use it for the draw 2 and discard because it will trigger your Darkworld monsters, and it just helps you cycle through your deck even more. And then after that, we're playing one number 41 Baguska, the Terribly Tired Taper. This is mainly for when like you get hit by Droll and Lockbird, or just any of those high impact hand traps or whatever, and your board's kind of weak. You just make Baguska, and then you pray that you're going to be able to survive a turn, in order to mount a comeback. So yeah, it's still very much like a very needed card if you do get hit by something like Droll and Lockbird. Then we're playing one Coach King Giant Trainer. This card's insane because it's not once per turn, so that means you're able to detach 1, draw 1, and then if it's a monster, you burn your opponent for 800 damage. So it's very useful if you're going to time, which, let's face it, this deck really does go to time often because of how long the combos take. And then you're able to cheese wins fairly easily thanks to Coach King Giant Trainer, and just able to continue to draw and gain more resources to try and beat your opponent. And then something that's a little bit weird is I'm playing one Dingirsu, the Orcus of the Evening Star. It just takes 2 level 8s, and it's just a free monster removal. And even if after that, you're not able to beat your opponent. It still has built-in protection, and if it attacked, you're able to go into something like Divine Arsenal AA Zeus, which is a very powerful card, because if your board is weak or your opponent just like, just has all the hand traps or the bestials or whatever, your field is going to be pretty weak for the most part. So just being able to have access to key cards like this and being able to control the field through cards such as Zeus is just invaluable. And then we're only playing one more Xyz. We're playing the one Kashtira Rise Heart. I don't know what it is, but I really do like siding cards like Change of Heart and Mind Control in the side deck. So I figured I might as well just include Kashtira or Rise Heart in the, actual, extra deck instead of, siding it, because I like catching people off guard. It's pretty funny, honestly, as they scramble, and then you can just make this, overlay, take theirs forever, essentially, and yeah. Obviously, it still does hurt you because it's a two-sided macrocosmos, and all your Darkworld cards will be banished, but it's still just a nice option to have, and if you're making this, you've typically already won the game at that point anyways. And then finally, we're only going to be playing 2 Grapha, Dragon Overlord of Darkworld. Not much to say. It's a good card, but it's not needed in order to win the game. But if it does come down, either your hand's pretty weak or like you're just flexing on your opponent. So yeah, not much to say. If your opponent activates any kind of effect that's from like a normal spell or trap or a monster effect, you can change that effect to your opponent discards 1 card. So, it's good, but it's not needed. And with that, that's the Darkworld deck. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya!